Hey! Been trying to meet you. I'm sorry, I had to do that. Hi, this is Lori.
This is Peter.
This is Hamilton.
And Skyping in is... Oh, sorry, Ryan. I jumped over your introduction.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And this is Ryan.
And we're with Action Heroes Hello. With another movie review, this time of the recent released DC Comics remake, reboot, revamp, whatever.
Sort of,
kind of. The Suicide Squad, not to be confused with Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Released in 2016.
Yes.
So, this came out last week on HBO Max, was it? Yeah. And we're here to talk about it. It's a comic book movie. We had another one.
Yes, we did.
Are we excited?
No.
Are we excited? All right. So, who wants to go first? Suicide Squad, Idris Elba, starring in it. Viola Davis is back. John Cena is here. A couple other people. We have Margot Robbie back as Harley Quinn.
I'm going to just start out by saying this just really wasn't my type of movie. So I want to make that clear because I don't really want to trash this movie. I know there's people who like this movie a lot. It just didn't really do it for me personally, but it was kind of entertaining, I guess. You know?
It's kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
But not really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it was good for some people who like this type of humor. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't like it at all.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, I thought it was a terrible movie.
All right.
First off, they decided that it was a complete reboot. It had nothing to do with the first movie. But then it kind of did.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Then they had Boomerang back, who was actually killed in the first movie.
Okay.
But I guess the first movie didn't actually happen.
So
but it did.
And it was played by the same actor.
Played by the exact same actor.
Yeah.
And he had about the same amount of screen time.
He was, again, spoiler alert.
He was killed.
Okay. Which, Ryan, thanks for sending that, what was it, the trailers? Yeah.
I really did like John Cena.
I like John Cena. He's just like, he's kind of like a throwback to like the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone type action star type of thing.
Except I don't think none of them would kind of like a beach full of, and they wouldn't eat them.
Wow! Did not expect to.
But he would.
That one. To come up
to
with a
make
reference.
Peace.
Yeah, to make
no
peace
matter what.
Oh my gosh.
So I did find his character interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Because he did say, hey, I'll blow a guy's head off if it'll mean peace. So,
right.
Yeah, okay.
Representing kind of like that extreme patriotism, nationalistic, ends justify the means type of character. And there was a nice contrast between him and Rick Flag. But that came so much later in the movie. It was like, okay, this movie has a little bit to say about something at this point. But Ryan, did you want to pipe in with what you thought about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. I didn't necessarily love it, but I didn't hate it either. I was kind of in between.
Okay.
I think I had a similar response to the first Suicide Squad. Was kind of indifferent to it. Same here, even though it's a different writer and director that was making this film. But I enjoyed it for what it was. I kind of knew Harley would survive just because she's too central of a character, too much of a cash cow.
Right.
So I knew she was guaranteed to not die. In fact, she even kind of has her own little movie within a movie within this film, which I didn't really have a problem with, but I just wasn't surprised that that was going to happen. Probably the one scene I could have did without was when you have Peacemaker and Idris Elba's character, and they're shooting through the resistance camp. You know, they're kind of taking them out one by one, but they don't know it's the resistance. And it's a brief second. They pass by one dude who stands up, and the dude just has no clothes on. And I was like, we didn't need to see the guy's junk on screen.
I missed that scene.
I don't remember that scene.
Yeah, I could have did without that.
The one person who wouldn't have minded. And all right. Yeah, I missed it. So.
But yeah, I could have did without that. But I mean, otherwise, I mean, the film was, I thought maybe sometimes more violent than it needed to be. But maybe this was James Gunn taking advantage of an R rating, doing things he could do that he wouldn't be allowed to do with Disney Marvel. Where he's maybe hamstringed a little bit, where he can do stuff here that he couldn't do on Guardians of the Galaxy. So I guess if you're a James Gunn fan, maybe you'll love this movie. I've seen a lot of people who do love it.
Really?
But if not, then it may not be someone's cup of tea. I did like the Guardians of the Galaxy's movies. But yeah, this one was definitely a different vibe. But like I said, I was just kind of indifferent to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree. I want to piggyback on what Ryan just said. I'm kind of indifferent, but there were things about this film that I definitely found kind of annoying. Like I got this sense of what when we were watching the film that like they, you know, spoiler alert, like they killed off the first team in the first 5 minutes of the film before the film even starts. And I think that was supposed to be this audacious kind of like thing. They killed off the characters. It was just kind of like whatever, you know. It was just like a lot of the humor for me was like whatever. Like the kaiju monster scene at the end was like whatever, you know. Nothing really was all that impressive to me or interesting or even funny. And I think that's what I found most annoying about this film personally. Other than that, I'm just kind of indifferent to it, you know.
We see, I really would have liked to see Savant survive.
Okay.
Because I like the actor. I like.
That's the thing. They put these actors in there. You're like, okay, I'm familiar with that guy. I'm familiar with them. So you expect them to survive most of the movie.
But.
Savant, you were saying.
Yeah, I really like Savant, but then he's gone. I could not stand Weasel at all, and I thought they had the perfect way to kill him off and leave him dead. But spoiler alert, Weasel ends up alive, and he's to me he's a child predator. So.
True.
How funny.
I didn't like.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. This movie had a lot of that. I just wanted to bring up who is Milton. There's a scene in there. You remember that there's the scene about there's this guy that pops up like halfway through the movie who's basically just a driver driving them around for a little while and kind of there to help them out with stuff, but not a main character by any means. And at some point, there's a joke scene about who is he, and Harley Quinn is like, "It's Milton, you know, he's been around the whole time." And Idris Elba's character is like, "Well, what are you talking about? I don't know who this person is." That's kind of summed up the whole movie for me.
Yeah.
Was that scene?
Yeah.
And how I felt about it is like, I don't know who any of these people are, and I'm supposed to like, you know, we just went through all of this together. And you don't, and I don't know who any of you are, you know? And so why am I supposed to care at this point? Yeah. And so I thought of that. I got a whole list of stuff here. I wanted to mention this early scene between Idris Elba and the girl who plays his daughter. It's a very serious, greatly acted, dramatic scene in this movie where I was like, I want to see that movie about him and his daughter, this guy in prison, and not looking up to him. But I mean, when you have a great actor like him, and then they follow it with him interacting with Viola Davis in another great dramatic scene, and then of course they don't mention, nothing is mentioned about this scene or the daughter until the very end of the movie. She sees him doing something heroic and like, wow, my dad's a great hero, and it's like, wow.
Right.
There's just a lot of really tonal shifts in this movie that just don't match. It's from the goofy humor and the excessive violence. It's just like the violence is too excessive to match, and the humor too goofy for them to like work together for me.
Right.
And
Right.
that was a problem.
Yeah.
What else? Like I said before, the movie doesn't seem to have anything to say. I always look like for overarching themes, a little subtext or anything. It gets into a little later in the movie with the Rick Flag character and John Cena's character. There's something about patriotism and like, you know, what true patriot. No, I won't say true patriot. One idea what patriotism is, and what the other one is. What it means to serve your country. And which ways you do it, and those two come in conflict, but they kind of, you know, well, they do conflict. That being the overarching theme you don't really know about it till, or at least I didn't pick up on it till kind of later in the movie. Let's see, anything else? I have more stuff. By the end of the movie, I wasn't feeling this movie at all. I was like, humor's okay. But like I said, between the violence was so off-putting to me that I couldn't enjoy the humor enough. And by the end of the movie, it started to, I was like, okay, the last 10, 15 minutes, I'm starting to feel this now. It's when it got at its most absurd. It's when it got less excessively violent and just went straight up goofy humor, and it made me think of like Monty Python.
Oh yeah, like
it made me think of like maybe Terry Gilliam's Brazil in a way. It's just some others, just cult.
I think it was trying to be.
I'm not saying it's anywhere he compares to them, but that's when it was like, okay, that's what you're going for.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. But otherwise, I wasn't a fan of this movie. I'm kind of indifferent to it. I didn't feel anything for it. It's just like, okay, oh, all right. I don't plan to watch it again, and don't really care about the characters or what happens going forward.
I just want to add, y'all, I'm not coming into this like jaded. I really wanted to enjoy this film. I really wanted to enjoy the first Suicide Squad movie. I do think that it's a total cop-out to say that the first movie never happened. That's like a movie where at the end there's like the last scene is someone having a dream and waking up and everything that happened in the movie never really happened. It's like, it's corny. But I really wanted to like this film. I really go into most of the DC films wanting to like them and just end up being disappointed. And that's how I felt really about this film. I wanted to really like this film. You know, and I don't understand whatever happened. How about this? Make a film with characters people like, and then, you know, when they survive at the end, people will want to come back and see the sequel. You know, how about that? You know, like instead of, I don't know, whatever this was.
You mean like normal movies?
Like, I know it's been done before. I know it's not like reinventing the wheel, but I'm just trying to help out here.
And I mean, to be fair, it is hard to make that films get made at all. It's it's a kind of a miracle in itself. So that to get a good film is like, but you know, it's I don't want to diss somebody for trying. I do want to get into talking about, anybody else have anything they want to add? I do want to get into talking about James Gunn, the director, a little bit.
Ryan?
Yeah, just two things. One was I watched the Harley Quinn cartoon, and they have King Shark as one of the characters on there. Voiced by Ron Funches. And if you're a fan of the cartoon, it's a very different interpretation of the character of King Shark than what we see here in the movie. Because on the cartoon, I mean, he's funny, but he's like a computer programmer, a computer hacker. He's wise and intelligent. I mean, he's still a zany character and absolutely hilarious. But here,
does he go ham?
Yeah, he's not nothing like, he's the exact opposite of that. Whereas here, he's like dumb as a rock. I mean, I guess Sylvester Stallone does good as a voice, but it just kind of caught me off guard just because I'm used to what I see in the animated series.
Wow.
So that was a little bit of a surprise that James Gunn gave a very radically different presentation of the character. The other thing, which was, I know there's questions about how does this connect to other films in the DCU, and if you line it up with the first Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey, there is an interesting sort of story arc with Harley Quinn's character. I've seen others mention this, where in the first Suicide Squad, she's together with Joker, and there's this kind of toxic relationship.
Okay.
In the film Birds of Prey that came out a year ago, she's sort of breaking away from Joker and dealing with the ramifications of that. And here in this movie, we're seeing her not dealing, she's an independent woman on her own. The minute she gets a sense that a guy she has a tryst with is bad, of course she kills him. So she's kind of standing on her own 2 feet. So I thought that was something sort of interesting. I mean, even she has this tattoo on her back, which in the first Suicide Squad said property of Joker, and here it says property of no one. So I thought that was kind of interesting, where across the 3 films, they kind of gave her character an arc.
Oh, okay.
Though you kind of wonder how much does this actually connect to the other movies in the DC extended universe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see as they make more films going forward. But that was just 2 things that had stood out to me.
Well, no, one of the things that, a lot of the things that I couldn't understand, how do you fight and feel and really want 10 years off a double life? How does that even happen?
Yeah, well, you're doing double life, but what's 10 years going to make?
Yeah, you die and then your body goes out, or I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand how someone like Harley Quinn, who had to be broken out of prison, or taken out of prison, she already had a life sentence. So how is she out of prison? But I said, okay, you're out of prison now in Birds of Prey, but then you go back into prison and you just kind of hop around and you're just on the plane with everyone else. So there was just a lot of bad things here. Polka Dot Man, oh my goodness, that was just ridiculous. I don't care if they do have it in the comics. It didn't belong in the comics, let alone a movie.
Well, I thought that was some of the humor that I found laughed the most at, him and his mother issues, and how they handled that.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Otherwise, I don't know what the hell he was supposed to do, but...
No, he was funny, but...
But why? The whole nature of the superhero and his powers is just kind of like...
Yeah.
Well, it's absurd.
Kind of like, yeah, it's all absurd.
It's all,
golly, leave me something.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I did like the character Peacemaker. I thought he was an interesting character, but that's about it. I wasn't blown away by his character. I just thought he was kind of interesting. I guess I wanted to know more about him watching the film, but other than that, whatever. It's just the whole film for me. I think it says a lot, y'all, that I don't think any of us actually saw the Easter eggs at the end of the film. Like, usually
we didn't even stick around.
Yeah.
Well, the first one was right at the end, so I didn't even stick around for the closing credits to see if there was going to be anything else. Or
I didn't even I didn't even care. Like, really, I guess I didn't think about it until I heard people mention it later.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it was like, whatever. Oh, it's over. It's time to go.
Well,
yes.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to mention a couple things. James Gunn, who directed the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, directed this. And they brought him on specifically to, I think, re-energize the DC universe after so much you know, starts and stops and not really knowing what the hell it's doing. But it's kind of, well, he brought they brought him in for his Guardian style, I'm guessing, so he exhibited that here. We don't really know much. I don't know anything else from him, other than he uses his brother in his movies all the time. They're the new Ron and Clint Howard. So his brother Sean Gunn was the guy screaming at the beginning. He also voiced Weasel, but he's always in these, you know, he's always in
I
the
think
movies.
James Gunn. I'm sorry, Laurie. I think he
Okay.
did that film. I forgot what
I
it's
have to
called.
see something else by him.
Yeah, he did this other film that it was like this character he had these superpowers. I was hoping Ryan would know what I'm talking about, but
Are you the Brightburn?
Bright, yeah, exactly.
Oh, he did Brightburn?
yes.
Brightburn was good.
Yeah.
Oh, see, Peter liked Brian. I still haven't seen that.
That
So-
was good.
Yeah, he
Okay,
did
so
that.
then we do
I
have
heard
something
that was
to
good.
weigh it against that's different
Yes.
from, because the other thing that kind of bugged me is the music he uses. It works really well in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's like picking all these old songs like "Hey" by the Pixies that I just did in the beginning, couldn't help it because I love that song. I think they did was the Steely Dan's "Dirty Work." This worked in Guardians of the Galaxy because you had Star-Lord. He had this old mixtape from when he was a kid. So the music worked because it was incorporated with the character.
Right.
And this is just like
From his
songs
mother.
stuck in the movie because he likes that song. And whether it worked within the movie or not, sometimes they did. Sometimes I was like, I don't know why this song is playing here. He just like, oh, wouldn't it be
Yeah.
cool to have this old song from the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, playing during this scene.
Yeah,
And, it's...
you're right.
That bugged me.
Me too.
So that's the two things. So I'm going to have to see Brightburn to kind of weigh something against this because, I mean, this is him doing Guardians of the Galaxy for DC, and that's what they hired him for. So it's just like, do you do anything else, dude? You know?
I do want to give a shout out to Double Toasted
Yeah.
because
We love Double Toasted.
yeah,
We do.
yeah, saw their stuff and they were really right on,
Yeah.
except for one thing.
What?
I think the reason, because I really did like the first Suicide Squad.
Okay. I didn't see the first one, to be honest.
It started to really break off when they had the villain, Enchantress, which was a terrible villain. I liked nothing about her. She was a face and then everything else CG,
Oh.
and it was just really
Not my
bad.
thing.
It was bad CG. It was bad casting. It was bad everything. In the first one, they did talk about what the history of each character. They did talk about that, and I really liked that. They told me what the character was about, what they did, why they were there, and what makes them so good or so great that they want to give them time off to go out and help. Because if you guys remember, it was, them doing this not to just help themselves, but they need this type of response team, of a team that stuff that Batman and Superman and stuff like that they wouldn't do. Of course, they would
Well, it
just.
sounds like that integrated more into the DC universe than this one did, other than mentioning a kryptonite bullet.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Well, and having
Which-
Harley Quinn, but...
Yeah, but I thought Harley Quinn, Robbie could have been used a lot better
Okay.
had they had a better script, but they didn't. Idris Elba, I really liked his character of Bloodsport, but he was, the way he and Peacemaker battled, I really kind of like that.
Dynamic.
The dynamic between them, but I think those two were in a terrible movie.
Okay. Well, it's like one of the things like Double Toasted pointed out is like there are no movie stars in this movie. It's you have A-list acting talent. You don't have like a movie star. John Cena was like a movie star like in the 80s. He's that type of guy. Who knows what he can do now? But and that's one of the things.
In the 80s.
Yeah, not in the 80s. He's younger. He's much younger.
No, he wasn't around in the 80s, but he's kind of like
Ooh.
he's like the equivalent.
He would have been like he would have been equivalent back then because he does have. He you can tell he has a lot of fun. He doesn't mind making fun of himself. He's like The Rock too, you know. He's kind of like, you know, not quite The Rock status, but you know.
Oh, when he said what he would do to clean up the beaches, I was just like,
you're checking out, but but yeah, there's no movie stars in this movie. Like you don't have Will Smith this time because you know, okay, I know what I'm going in with, you know, to get to. Yeah, there's something to, and this is the kind of movie that needs like movie stars rather than great acting talent. That you're not going to use their acting talent except for like in a small dose in the beginning or something. I wanted to mention because we were talking about Taika Waititi is in this. He played Ratcatcher's dad, the Ratcatcher 2's dad. I don't know if you realize that later on.
Yeah.
And speaking of which. The end with the rats, where she calls all the rats, spoiler alert, and that kind of between Harley Quinn and the Javelin. And why didn't she call all those rats before if she had that kind of power?
I don't know, but that seemed like just a gang of rats.
That was a lot of rats. That was all the rats on the planet, apparently. Made it to that island. Made it to that island. And if everything, you just had to have all the rats attack to stop shit. Why didn't you do it earlier?
Yeah.
So, this would have saved our misery. No, I'm just kidding. So, anyway.
But Ryan, you said you did kind of like this film. Is that correct?
I was kind of in the middle. I mean, I didn't really love it, but I didn't really hate it. I was kind of like, it was okay. Yeah. You know, I was the same thing with the first Suicide Squad. I thought it was okay. I was just kind of in the middle. I will say, by the way, I think there was someone that mentioned liking Peacemaker earlier. He will be having his own TV show.
Yeah, that's right. I read
and James Gunn, in fact, will be directing some of the episodes.
Oh, okay.
So that's part of the reason you have the post-credit scene with him surviving, since he'll be having his own show, which is spinning out of this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I read that.
So, yeah, I'm not sure I'm as psyched about that as like a Marvel show coming on, a new Marvel show coming out. So, speaking of which, shall we wrap this up? I don't have anything further to say. I've said everything I can think of about this movie. It's on HBO Max right now and in theaters. If you've seen it or want to see it, leave comments. Leave us some comments what you think about it. And are we out?
I think we're out.
We're out.
We're out.
Like, who let the air out of the tire? My gosh.
We're out. All right. See ya. I was going to sing Dirty Work, but I think I won't.
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all.